Okay, so let's take a state of stress, some loading condition. So let's assume the principal stress sigma 1 is equal to sigma here. So this sigma 1 is maximum principal stress. Understand? Okay, clear? So if you have a fluctuating type, if you are having fluctuating type of cyclic stress, so we should be having like this: maximum value, minimum value, both should be non-zero, or minimum value should be non-zero. Understand? If it is repeated, maximum principal stress should be non-zero, minimum principal stress should be zero here. So when the load becomes dynamic, the stresses will be fluctuating between these two values. Understand? So when it is reversed, so principal stress should be like this. I'm just taking biaxial state of stress, sigma 3 is not there, so that the comparison can be done very easily here. So we see that sigma value is same for every case. Sigma, I'm telling sigma value here. Understand? Okay, so the maximum to which stress can go here is same here. Understood? So for these two cases, if you find out sigma mean is sigma plus sigma by 2 whole by 2 here. This comes out to be 1 plus 1 by 2, 3 by 2. So 3 sigma by 4. Okay, and sigma amplitude, if you are getting sigma minus sigma by 2 here, this becomes sigma by 4. Now if you take this particular case, sigma mean becomes sigma by 2, sigma amplitude is equal to again sigma by 2. Now if you take this one, sigma mean is 0 here, sigma amplitude is equal to sigma here. Understand? Now everybody look here and understand why reverse stress is more dangerous. Why do we decide reverse stress are more dangerous? Okay. First of all, let's compare sigma mean values. Sigma mean values, if we compare, this is 3 sigma by 4, this is sigma by 2, this is 0 here. Understand? So first of all, if a metal should not fail means this sigma value should be less than strength of the material. The sigma value should be less than SYT or SUT. So I will be taking strength in static loading because this particular sigma strength in static loading, because sigma is the value which comes in static loading. Okay, the comparison can be done in static loading itself. Okay, and also anyways we are dealing with sigma mean, which is the equivalent value in static loading condition. Understood? So this should be less than SYT. When sigma itself is less than SYT value, 3 sigma by 4 will also be less than SYT value. Sigma by 2 also will be less than SYT value. 0 will also be less than SYT value. So in terms of static loading, all three are safe. There is no problem regarding that. Everybody understood this thing here? No doubt at all? Clear? So in terms of static loading, we see that all the three values are less than the strength itself. So there is no danger in terms of, no danger that failure will happen in static loading here. If by any chance, if you are getting these three values, any of the three values is more than sigma, then definitely we can say that there is a chance that failure can happen under static loading condition itself. Understood? But that will not happen because mathematically, so if you check and take any case here, they will come as less than SYT itself. Okay, once sigma is less than SYT, automatically every value will be less than sigma itself. Now let's come to the stress amplitude here, or dynamic loading condition. So we see here, this is sigma by 4, this is sigma by 2, this is sigma. This is the max, sigma A max. Understood? This is the sigma A max. Understood? I told you that in dynamic loading, strength decreases over time. You have made sure that sigma is less than SYT. Sigma is less than SYT here. Okay, but due to the dynamic loading, after some amount of time, definitely strength will decrease. Okay, SYT value will decrease. Then there is definitely a chance that sigma can be lying higher than SYT value. You are able to understand this thing, everybody? You are able to catch this point? If you are unable to follow this, don't worry. Just remember that like reverse stresses are more dangerous as compared to other two. That's it. Okay, what I am saying was, initially sigma may be less than S by T. Let's assume that sigma is some 10 megapascal. S by T value is 15 megapascal here. Okay, understand? So anyways, we see that it's not going to fail by static loading. So here this will be 10 megapascal only, but here due to the dynamic loading, because stress amplitude is there, means dynamic loading condition is there. Due to dynamic loading, strength will decrease. Strength will no longer 15 megapascal. There might be a chance that it may decrease beyond or less than 10 megapascal. And this is the highest value here. So here in this case, sigma by 2 is there, here sigma by 4 is there. Understood? So here sigma by 2 is there, here sigma by 4 is there. So definitely this is more dangerous than these two cases. Understood? Clear? That is how we can decide that these reverse stresses are dangerous than these particular fluctuating and repeated stresses here. Okay, everyone? Shall I run the board? Any more doubts are there? You don't need to copy this, but just for your idea, I have explained this thing here. Okay. So we'll study how to design a component under reverse stresses. Okay. And in this one, we are going to also learn how endurance limit for a component is decided. Okay. So we already know that endurance limit or endurance strength depends upon the material and also the variation of the applied load or applied dynamic load. So we are going to see a little bit more beyond that. Understand? That's not the complete knowledge about endurance limit decision about endurance limit or endurance strength there. It is a little bit more beyond that. So we are going to learn about that in this particular concept itself, which is regarding designing of reverse stresses. So there will be an experimental setup for every material when we would like to do the designing for this reverse stresses. Okay, so you can see here, whatever the component is there, steel component or whatever it is there, it is mounted in a center lathe machine or some apparatus where it can be rotated. Okay, so imagine this as a center lathe machine. So in a center lathe machine, you'll be having a headstock which will be having some power connection. Once you switch on the switch, once you on the switch, it will be starting rotating. So here you are using electrical motor to rotate the component. So wherever the rotating arrow mark is there, that is actually this particular the component here. Understood? So I hope it is clear to everybody. Understood? So that component is loaded with some weights. So the component is mounted like this. Okay, the component is mounted like this. So this is applied with some load. You can see here there is some stand where some weight is applied. So here I am directly putting it. Some weight is applied here, P. Understood? So when a load is applied in this way, so these two are the supports. When a load is applied in this way, this component will undergo bending. I hope this is already known to everybody. The component will undergo bending. The component will undergo bending. So bending means upper fiber will experience compression, lower fiber will experience tension, or vice versa, or reverse. Understood? Clear, everybody? So in this or at this particular stage, if I take the cross-sectional view, uppermost fiber is experiencing compression, lowermost fiber is experiencing tension. Is it right, everyone? Yes. So at this neutral axis, stress is equal to 0. Now, when you on the electrical motor and rotate it, what happens? Once it starts rotating, the small element which is on the top will come here, then will come here. Once it is coming here, stress will become 0. Once it reaches here, stress will become tensile. Okay, again 0, compression, 0, tension, 0, compression, 0, tension. That means stress is going on varying. Okay, so stress is going on varying, and we can say that the stress is reverse type of cyclic stress. Understood? The stress is reverse type of cyclic stress. Clear, everybody? Any doubt is there regarding this experimental setup here? You should be able to understand this. Okay, So whatever the stress value you are going to get, so here you are going to get minus sigma, here you are going to get plus sigma here. So using them you can get the value of mean stress. Anyways, it's going to be 0. Amplitude stress will become sigma itself, which is equal to bending stress only. So I'm putting it as bending stress only here, sigma b. So we have these values. Sigma mean is 0, sigma amplitude is equal to sigma b itself. Is right or not, everybody? I hope everybody know that, like, okay, I'll put this step, otherwise few people might get confused. Sigma max is equal to plus sigma b, sigma minimum is equal to minus sigma b. Using them you can say sigma mean is 0, sigma amplitude is equal to sigma b. Is it clear, everyone? Okay? Done? Okay, so mean is equal to 0, amplitude is equal to sigma b, so it is the reverse type of cyclic stress itself. It's already clear prior to this only. So we have a clarity now again that it is cyclic stress itself, or repeated reverse type of cyclic stress here. Okay, now one thing is very clear, that higher is this value of load, lesser will be the life of the component. Life means we can tell in terms of time, or also we can tell in terms of number of cycles, because number of cycles are related with respect to time in terms of RPM. Okay, so you might be rotating with respect, using this at 10 RPM, 20 RPM, 30 RPM based upon your possibility there or feasibility there. Now, one thing is very clear, that higher is the load, lesser is the life of the component. So if you don't apply any load, it will be very, very safe. Higher is the load of the component, higher is the load acting on the component, lesser is the life of the component here. So if you simply plot the variation, if you simply try to plot the variation, so this is the time or cycles, okay, and this is the load. Okay, so you can simply say that it should be inversely related. It may not be a straight line, but it should be inversely related. You should be understanding or keeping in mind from some concepts that using this load P, we will be getting the value of sigma. Is it right? I hope you people know that sigma B is nothing but 32 m by pi d cube. I hope you people remember this formula. For a cylindrical shaft experiencing bending moment m, you can say bending stress is equal to 32 m by pi d cube. So using this value of P, whatever the applied load is there, we'll be getting the value of bending moment, and using the bending stress formula, we'll be getting it. So using P, you'll be getting sigma B. Using sigma, we'll be getting sigma mean and sigma amplitude. Understand? So if I say higher is the load, higher is the load, lesser is the life of the component, or if I say higher is the load or higher is the stress amplitude, lesser is the life of the component, both means same. Is it clear to everybody? Is it clear to everybody? Load is giving rise to sigma B, and that sigma B is giving rise to sigma A. So I can put any one of the value there. Load or stress amplitude, both are related with respect to each other itself. Any doubt is there here? So instead of saying higher is the load, lesser is the life, or lesser is the load, higher is the life of the component, in the place of load I can put stress amplitude. Higher is the stress amplitude, lesser is the life of the component. Is it clear to you guys or not? I'm not getting acknowledgement here. If you guys are not clear, then that's going to create a problem. I'm not going with a very tougher concept here. Okay, so just I'm taking the equivalency here. So A give rise to B, B give rise to C. So A and C I can interchange. What if we apply less load but for longer time? If time is not in our hands. Okay. Actually, time means the time up to which it's gonna sustain the load. Okay, so when it's gonna fail, we're gonna apply the load forever. If you have the component which can take the load forever, the load will be applied forever. The load will be going on fluctuating. That means it will be load will be going on applied forever there. But real scenario, at some point of time, definitely the component will fail. Understood? At some point of time, definitely the component will fail. You're able to understand, everybody? Clear? Okay, so we are not going to decide the time. So in fact, we can decide the load itself. We'll apply the load, that's it. So we'll wait till it gonna fail there. Understood? So in real scenario, every material is taken and it is tested in this way here. And the graph is drawn. So how this particular stress amplitude is going on varying with respect to time, or stress amplitude with respect to number of cycles. Mostly we'll be having these two terms, stress amplitude and number of cycles. Stress amplitude and number of cycles. Understand? So because cycles and time are related with respect to each other, because like if you have RPM, n RPM means n revolutions per minute. Okay, so in that way time and cycles are related. Here stress amplitude and load are related. So load is giving rise to stress amplitude. So mostly we'll be having curves which are related with which are drawn between stress amplitude and number of cycles. So stress amplitude and number of cycles here. Understood everybody? Clear? So we have this particular graph here. So if you do this particular experiment for steel specimen, you will have a graph like this. If you do this experiment for a steel specimen, you will get a graph like this. So where along this axis, you should put this particular sigma A in logarithmic scale. Okay, you have to put a logarithmic scale, because if you put sigma A in logarithmic scale and also cycles in logarithmic scale, that is log base 10, you will get a straight line. You can see in the graph there. That is the experimental result. There is a doubt by Ipsita here. Not convinced with the statement, higher the load, less will be the number of cycles. Ipsita, forget about the term cycles. Higher is the load, lesser will be the time up to which it can sustain the load. Is it right or not? For example, there are two benches in your classroom. On one bench, a person who is having a weight of 60 kg is standing, and another bench is there, or another table is there on which a person who is having a weight of 100 kg is standing, and both are jumping. The only difference between these two cases is the weight is different, or the load acting is different. Load magnitude is different. Okay, so both are same tables, everything is same. So 60 kg weight here and here 100 kg weight here. So which table will fail first, or which table will fail with a less amount of time? Obviously the table where higher or the fatter person is standing on that, right? It's the same thing here. So more is the weight, lesser is the life of the components. So lesser is the life or lesser is the number of cycles. Clear now? Exactly. Ipsita, clear now? Got it? Okay. So this diagram is famously called as SN diagram of steel. So SN diagram means stress amplitude and number of cycles diagram. Okay. So this diagram will differ for material to material. So in the textbooks it is given for steel only, and at this level we solve questions only for steel. In GATE also they will ask you for steel itself. Understand? If they don't want to ask about steel, then they will give you diagram of the particular material or SN curve of the particular material, and they will ask you to apply that. Understood? So this is the variation of stress amplitude with respect to number of cycles for steel specimen here. Okay, everybody, you can see the curve is going on decreasing, but after some number of cycles, you see that it is horizontal. Understand? So here if you see, if you apply this amount of stress amplitude, it will sustain up to this many number of cycles. If you apply this amount of stress amplitude, this will sustain up to this many number of cycles. If you apply this amount of stress amplitude, then it will sustain up to this many number of cycles. Okay, but you guys know that the strength will not decrease forever. It will go to some value itself. So that is nothing but endurance limits. So this is endurance limit here, SE. So if you are giving rise to a stress which is lesser than the endurance limit, then this will fail at infinity. So you're going to see this variation. That means the curve after decreasing becoming asymptotic or horizontal after some amount of number of cycles, definitely for every material. The only thing is the value of number of cycles will differ for material to material. Understood? Clear everyone? No doubt is there? So copy the diagrams from the board and also from the slide here. I'll explain you how to use this data to solve a question. Very simple mathematical numericals will be coming up, so we can easily solve them. Okay, everybody? Done? So you should be keeping in mind that using this experiment, we can evaluate endurance limits for this reverse type of cyclic stress loading condition. So remember that this value is for reverse type of cyclic stress condition. So this can be evaluated because the output of this experiment is this particular diagram, right? You are able to get this value here. Understand, endurance limit value is able to get calculated for this reverse type of loading condition here. Understood? So for a steel specimen, you can have the diagram as shown on this particular secondary screen here. So how to use this to get the answers, or what exactly they're going to ask you in the numericals. Let's look into that one here. So let's take this particular steel specimen itself. So this is stress amplitude, this is number of cycles in logarithmic scale, log n, and this is log stress amplitude here. Okay. So one thing you have to keep in mind is endurance limit for this particular steel specimen will come at log n is equal to 6. This implies n is equal to 10 power of 6. So endurance limits for a steel specimen for reverse type of cyclic stress comes out to be at n is equal to 10 power of 6 cycles. You have to keep in mind. This data will not be given in the question. You should mug up this thing here. Understand? So this is equal to 6 here. So what they will say is the stress amplitude for these number of cycles. Let's take it as 4. Okay, this is some value here. Let's take it this as 3, or let's take it as 4 here. Let's take it this as 5 here. So what they will tell you is for stress amplitude of this much, these are the number of cycles it can sustain. That is 10 power of 4 cycles here. So they will tell you this value x1, or let's take it as first loading condition. So sigma A1. Okay, let's directly put it as x1 y1 only. So they will tell you these values x1 and y1 values. They will say that for this amount of stress amplitude, this is the number of cycles up to which it can sustain. Okay, and they will say the endurance limit value is equal to this one. So here it is, see, this is 6. Okay, and endurance limit value will be there. So they will tell you these two values. So let's take this point as 2, x2, y2. They might not be giving you this value, that is x2 here. Okay, but when they say that like it is endurance limit, you can immediately decide that the x2 value is equal to 6. They'll give you these two values. They'll give you one of this value here, or basically this y2 value here, and they'll be expecting you to know this value here. Then they will ask you for a stress of this much, x3, what is the value of y3? So y3 is equal to question mark. That means for this amount of stress amplitude, up to how many number of cycles it is going to sustain. You're able to understand here. I'm putting in blue color or ticking in blue color, which will be given in the question. Okay. So they'll be giving you this value, this value. They will give you this value here. This thing is equal to 6. You should be substituting. Understand? They will give you any one of these two values. They'll give you any one of these two values here. Understand? They'll give you any one of those two values here. So whatever the unknown value is there, you have to get it. How can you get the answer here? Based upon the data given like this, how can you get the unknown value x3 or y3? How can you get it? Yes, straight line equation. It can be done in easily. It can be done easily using the straight line equation. You see that all the three values are lying on a straight line. All the three are lying on a straight line. Okay. So slope between 1 and 3 is equal to slope between 1 and 2. Slope between 1 and 3 is nothing but y3 minus y1 by x3 minus x1. Slope between 1 and 2 is equal to given by y2 minus y1 by x2 minus x1. So you know everything. Only one of the value of x3 and y3 is not known to you. Simply by using this formula, you can get the answer. But keep in mind, x1, y1, x2, y2, x3, y3 are nothing but logarithmics, are nothing but stress amplitude and number of cycles and logarithmic scale, log, log base 10 scale. Understood? So then only you'll be able to get the answer. If you are directly substituting stress values and number of cycle values, then you'll be getting error results. Understood? This is how you are to use it. Clear? Kindly copy this, everyone. We'll go with the next one here, or the next slide. Kindly keep in mind that this graph is a straight line from 10 power 3 to 10 power 6 cycles only. Okay, or it's having a same slope from 10 power 3 to 10 power 6 itself. So how the graph is there from 0 to 10 power 3? It is in this way here. You can see on the secondary screen. So it's also a straight line from 10 power like 0 cycles to 10 power 3 cycles, but the slope is different. So from 0 to 10 power 3 we call it as low cycle fatigue region, and from 10 power 3 to 10 power 6 we call it as high cycle fatigue region. Understood? You can draw this graph here. Okay. So the slope is different. So this part slope is different. So from here to here, whatever slope is there till this point here, and from here to here, whatever slope is there, both the slopes are different. So slope in this region, let's take it as 1. Slope in this region 2. Both are not equal. So kindly draw this particular diagram. This will help you do all of this. Okay, yes, so all these details whatever I'm giving you now are for steel only, because this value is not changing. Everywhere I'm showing you as 10 power 6 only here. This is 6 itself. Our incidence limit is coming at 6 itself. Understand? So for other materials it will be different. SUT is taken because we want to see the fracture thing. Understand? So basically when this particular rotation is happening in this particular experiment, when you are doing this reverse type of cyclic stresses, we can't notice when the yielding is happening. We can notice only when the fracture will going to happen, and the time difference between this particular case where stress goes to the maximum or stress goes to the fracture point, it will be very less. So approximately we'll take it as SUT itself. Understand? So as we can't decide, or we can't just look at the rotating component and say it got yielded, so let's stop it. It can't be decided, right? It's very difficult. If it is rotating at very high speed, it's very difficult to stop it just by looking into it that it's got yielded. Understand? That's the reason why we go with ultimate stress itself, so that it will be uniform for ductile and brittle metals as well. So please remember this value. They have written that it is 0.9 SUT. So this is SUT. This value they given it as 0.9 times SUT. That is SUT, and this one, the lower value is 0.9 times SUT. Clear? So if they haven't given this data in the question, then you should be going with this value itself, 0.9 times SUT itself. Okay? If they have given some data, go with the data itself. You're able to understand? So please remember this one. Very important thing is this one, and next this one here. These two values you should be remembering. Yeah? And in most of the cases, like in dynamic loading cases, like whether it is ductile or brittle, in real life scenario, you will be throwing out the components when it completely gets broken. So in that way, it is little bit helping. So though the error is coming up, that's still not causing any problem. Understand? Is it log S? Exactly. Kumar Vish, it's a logarithmic scale only. It is logarithmic scale only. Log of this thing. This is also, this value itself is log, so this is log n. So SWAM survey is about ideal cases, no limitations, nothing. But this our machine design is all about real life scenarios. So we should take care of every limitation whichever is occurring. Done everyone? Clear? So keep in mind, just know how to use this formula, like a simple mathematical equation. So please don't do any mistake. Only thing you have to keep in mind is putting everything in the units of logarithmic scale, log base 10 scale. So let's go to the next one. Very important concept. In fact, we got a question 2019 from this particular concept. Okay, everybody listen carefully. I said that endurance limit or endurance strength of a component. So we are dealing with endurance limit only, because out of all endurance strengths, endurance limit is the most safest value. Endurance limit of a component not only depends upon the material, but also depending upon the variation of the dynamic load or the type of the dynamic load which is acting on that. Clear? So we cannot take every loading condition and do the testing, because every dynamic load is of its own variety. So if I hit the plank with a hammer, it will be of making one particular way of graph. The graph will be of one particular way or one particular fashion. If I take a wire and go on bending repeatedly, the particular stress variation or the load variation with respect to time will be in one particular fashion. So it's going to vary from loading condition to loading condition. So we can't decide or we can't do testing for every loading condition. Okay, so anyways, we understood that out of the different types of cyclic stresses, reverse type of cyclic stress is very dangerous. So we have done reverse type of cyclic stress experiment. Using that, we can get the value of endurance limits. So for this reverse type of cyclic stress condition, we got the endurance limit condition, endurance limit value, that is SE here. But I said it goes beyond that as well. So few factors which are deciding endurance limit or which are going to decrease the value of endurance limit from this value are these here. First one. Okay, I'm going step by step. Surface finish. So these are all experimentally dealt or experimentally given results here. So higher is the surface finish, more closer the endurance limit to this value. Okay, so higher is the endurance limit. So higher is the surface finish. Like if the surface is very smooth. In fact, if you take specimens are very smooth. Their surface is very smooth because we expect the endurance limit to be at this value here. If the surface finish is very rough. Okay, surface finish is very rough. Then endurance limit will be less closer to this value here. Okay, and the second one is size. More is the size of the component. Or I'll put in this way here. Higher surface finish is required. In the same way, lesser size is required. Smaller is the size of the component, more closer is to this particular value here. Okay, so what are the conditions here? Higher surface finish, second one is smaller size. So these are all the contributing factors. I'm putting in a positive way here. Higher should be the surface finish, smaller should be the size. Okay, and third one you can see here, that is reliability of the experiments. Lesser is the error in the experiments. So when you are conducting experiments, like errors will be there in the instruments, error will be occurring by the technician who is doing the experiment. So many things contribute to the errors there. Lesser is the error in the experiments, or more is the reliability of the experiments there. Okay, so more is the reliability of the experiments. Understand? Or whatever the testing we are actually doing it. Clear? And the next one is stress concentration. So we are expecting stress concentration to be as less as possible. Less stress concentration. Understand? So these are the very important 4 parameters which will decide endurance limit of components, whether it is closer to this value or not. Okay, whatever you got it in reverse type of cyclic stress, that value is closer, whatever the real value of endurance limit you are going to have for the component, whether it is closer to the ideal case or not, closer to the reverse type of cyclic stress case or not, is decided by these 4 cases here, or 4 reasons here. Understand? And every case is defined by a variable here, Ka, Kb, Kc and Kd. In fact, this Kd is inversely proportional to or 1 by Kt value. Kd is actually 1 by Kt value because I am expecting lesser stress concentration. Understand? And you can write down like this. So Se dash is equal to Ka into Kb into Kc into Kd into Se, where Se is actually endurance limit of the component under reversed type of cyclic stresses. Okay, Se dash is actual endurance limits of components under that particular dynamic load or cyclic stress, or that particular cyclic stress. Understand? That's the reason why this is given the name as like sometimes it's given the name as corrected endurance limits. Okay, we ideally expect this value to be this much. Okay, but these values will decrease it. All these values are less than 1. You should be keeping in mind all these values will be less than 1. So Kt should be greater than 1. So obviously Kd should be less than 1 there. Understood everybody? Clear? Clear? So for example, this is 0.98, this is 0.92, 0.93, 0.99. So you'll be getting the whole product around some 0.95, something like that. Okay. So all these are less than 1. So obviously like whole product also will be less than 1. So all these like, okay, so better is this, higher is the values, or more closer to 1 value here. So very high is the surface finish. So this will go towards 1.999 because we can't make a perfect mirror finish surface finish just like glass. So we cannot reach Ka is equal to 1. So we'll be getting 0.99999 like that. The same way this one also. Smaller is the size, better is the advantage here. So Kb value will be tending towards 1. Understood everybody? So just keep this thing in mind because we got a question 2019 suddenly from nowhere, because earlier 2019 never ever question was asked from this. Okay, that's the reason I'm making you people know here. Understood? So we expect surface finish to be higher, smaller to be the size, more should be the reliability of the experiments, or lesser should be the error in the results, and lesser should be the stress concentration. So these will contribute to a higher value of endurance limits, or more closer to the endurance limit in reverse loading condition. Okay everybody, clear? So kindly copy this. You don't need to copy from the slide here. So you can give the answer for this question. So once you are done copying, you give me answer for this question, 2019 gate question. Putting in terms of specimen, then this should be for specimen, SE, because we conduct an experiment on a specimen, right? So this is for a specimen, this is for the real component. Because specimen will have very good surface finish, specimen will be like smaller in size, specimen will be having like it is made by very accurate experiments, okay? Specimen will be having very less amount of stress concentration because it will not be having any defects or very less number of defects. So this is for specimen, this is for the real component. These things are interrelated with respect to each other. So one of the reasons for smaller size requirement is, smaller is the size, lesser is the probability of having holes, or lesser is the probability of having internal cracks, lesser is the probability of having lesser is the probability of having defects. In fact, having defects in the sense like it is very easy to produce a smaller product with less number of defects, okay? Or like if you're producing a product which is if you're producing a component which is smaller in size, and other case where you are producing component which is larger in size. So smaller size will be having less number of defects as compared to the case where larger size component will be having more number of defects. You're able to understand here? Smaller size components will have less number of defects. That's the reason why we expect them to have smaller size, considerable size. Okay. Okay. So let's see the answer for this question. Endurance limit of a beam subjected to pure bending decreases with. So they're telling when endurance limit will decrease. We have discussed that if these parameters are going up, okay, they will contribute to higher value of endurance limit, right? Understand? So the endurance limit, this value will go close to this value here. So endurance limit should decrease means these values should be in a decreasing way, or reverse of these things should happen. So if you see the option number C, it is written that increase in surface roughness. Increase in surface roughness means reverse of this, and increase in size of the beam, so reverse of this. If you take any other option, first option is decrease in surface roughness. Decrease in surface roughness means same thing here. Okay, decrease in surface roughness or increase in surface finish, both are same. And decrease in size of the beam. Decrease in size of the beam, that means it is contributing. That means first one is that means first thing, surface roughness thing in option number A is going to increase the endurance limit, but decrease in the size of decrease in the surface roughness or higher the surface finish. Okay, so both are going to contribute to increase endurance limit here. Understand? In the same, you take option number B here, increase in surface roughness. Increase in surface roughness means endurance limit will be going on decreasing. But second thing is decrease in size of the beam. Decrease in size of the beam will increase the endurance limit. So both are contradicting with each other. Understand? At the end you will get decreased value only. In other way, what they are saying is Ka value will be less, but Kb value will be more, or towards 1. That's what they are saying. Ka value will be far less than 1, but Kb value will be closer to 1. When you take the product, both will be less than 1 only. Understand? If you go with the case where this value is closer to 1, this value is closer to 1, then product will also be more closer to 1. Understand? Clear? So in that way you can check each and every option here. So option C is giving rise to a case where it is increasing surface roughness. That means like K value is less than or decreasing here, and increasing in size of the beam. So increasing size of the beam means KB value is also decreasing. So both are decreasing means both will contribute to decrease of surface rough, decrease of the endurance limits. So I hope it is clear to everybody. It's simply just the English that you should be taking care here. That's it. Clear? So if it is not clear in the break, just solve it once again. It's simply your understanding of the sentences given in the question. That's it. Nothing more than that. Okay? That's it. So that will make you to get the understand the answer why it is correct. Understand why the answer is correct here. Okay? So let's take a break for 15 minutes and we'll resume the class